With me today, I have a brand new 2020 Honda Civic LX. Now the LX is the base trim level to the Honda Civic, and this one in particular has no options whatsoever and comes with a base 6-speed manual transmission, which is what I like. Now this LX comes in right under $20,000, just a smidgen under $20,000. So could it be possibly one of the best brand new cars you could buy today for under $20,000? Well, that's what I'm here to find out. So in this review video, learn everything there is to know about this brand new Honda Civic LX so you can decide if this is the right car for you. Stay tuned. First, I want to give a big thanks to Honda of Laos, which made this video possible. So if you're in the market for a brand new or used Honda, make sure you check them out. Their URL is in the description below. First, let's look at the outside. The front end received a slight refresh back in 2019 and it has a nice aggressive look. The headlight housings are blacked out and it carries into the large black grille in the center, of course with the Honda emblem. The projector headlights have auto high beam and has LED daytime running lights. The lower bumper has a nice chrome accent trim that surrounds each side, and the grille openings on each side are a lot smaller than the ones found on the Civic Hatchback and SI. Moving on to the side, the Civic LX has a nice shape and it has a fastback or coupe-like back end that really makes the sedan stand apart. There is very little chrome besides the upper window trim. It's hard to notice, but these wheels are 16-inch steel wheels and they have a nice looking cover on top of them. The backside has a really sporty look, especially with the high trunk lid and the very slanted rear window. Great looking edgy taillights surround the trunk. The lower bumper has a few fake vents on the side and has a nice looking silver bar down the middle. Now, as for the engine, the LX comes standard with a 2-liter 4-cylinder that is pushing 158 horsepower and 138 pound-feet of torque. This engine is standard on the LX and the sport trim for the Civic. And the base transmission is a 6-speed manual, although a CVT transmission is available as an optional upgrade. One of the big upgrades to the Civic that was added back in 2019 is Honda Sensing. It is a suite of safety features that Honda wants to install within all their cars, SUVs, and trucks. With it, you get collision mitigation braking system, road departure mitigation system, adaptive cruise control, and lane keep assist. This is now standard across all Civics, including the LX. Now, moving on to the backside, the trunk is big and spacious. Although there isn't a whole lot in here, there's no hidden storage, nets, or cubby holes. However, the rear seat backs do fold down, which allow you to carry long and bigger items back here. As for the second row, the seats are covered in cloth, but overall design and feel is good. I'm 5'10" and I have no problems fitting in the second row. I have a good 4 to 5 inches of legroom left and equal amount of headroom. The seat cushions also feel very nice. But keep in mind there are no rear vents, no USB ports, and no armrest. You get one cup holder in each door panel. There are also 2 sets of car seat latches, one on each side. Now, as for the front, the door panels, dash, center console all have a sleek modern look. Next, let me show you around. Alright, now that I'm behind the steering wheel, let me show you the cabin and some of the features that you get in this brand new LX. Now, starting with the steering wheel, it is not covered in leather. However, it has a good contour. You can see by the 10 and 2 spot. Definitely feels good in my hands, and also this overall look is a modern, sleek look. This is the very same design that you get even on the upper trim, such as the SI and Type R. They're changed a little bit, but overall the same design, and I like the look of it. Now, in terms of buttons, very easy to understand. This side is actually surprisingly for adaptive cruise control. Now, Honda is trying to implement Honda Sensing across all their lineups, and this was added back in 2019. So yes, even on the base LX, you get adaptive cruise control, which is awesome. And not only that, you get lane keep assist too, which is this button. So this main button, if you press it, you'll see that they both turn on, ACC and LKAS. Basically, this turns both systems on or off. So you do get safety features that's standard on this LX. that you can't even get on some of the other newer cars. So that's fantastic. So that's adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist system over here. This is where you can control the menu and your gauge cluster. Also phone control, volume, those are pretty standard. Now, let's take a look at the gauge cluster next. This is one huge 7-inch screen in the middle. Now this whole thing was revamped or changed back in 2019. And this is what you see in other cars from Honda, such as the Pilot, for example. Now, if you press this button over here, this is the menu button, you could see you could go through a couple of different things. You could see this is the trip computer. This is for maintenance, settings. You could change your miles per hour to kilometers per hour if you wanted to. But overall, the screen is nice and big. You do see the big tach, a digital speedometer over there, and of course, a couple little things like your temperature and clock. Overall, this is a really good upgrade. Also on top, you could see the lights, right? Right now, they're white. If you're in eco mode, they kind of turn green. And if you're in sport mode or you need to shift, they actually turn red, which looks really amazing. Now on the left side, right side, you can see your fuel and also your engine temperature. Those are digital as well. They're analog, but digital like ticker thing in the middle. All right, so that is the new gauge cluster, and it looks fantastic. Now, if you move over here, this is for the pre-collision mitigation system, traction control, lane keep assist. So there's a couple of things here that you could turn on or off. So pre-collision, yes. Auto braking is also standard, part of Honda sensing that you get on this base LX, which is fantastic. Now over here, this is pretty standard window control, mirror controls, and take a look. Even on the base LX, you do get auto up and down for both driver and passenger. You don't see that a lot. Even on some of the other, mid-trim cars and sedans, you only get one. So you do get two in here, which is nice. Now, moving on to over here, this is the infotainment screen. It's not really infotainment because you don't get a lot of the apps that you see on the upper trim, especially if you move up to the Sport or the Touring, the EX. You get an upgraded screen, you get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, stuff like that in those. This one you do not get. This is very basic. You do get Bluetooth and you can control your radio, and you do have simple things such as a volume knob, which is good, and also you can scroll through the different radio stations, and you do have media over here, so you can play things from Bluetooth or from any connected device such as your iPhone, iPod, or whatever. And that's pretty much it. This is pretty basic, really basic. But for some of you guys, this is enough. And of course, you do get a backup camera. So if you put the Civic in reverse, you could definitely see behind you with the grid lines. So this is really what you need. Yes, it doesn't have all the fancy features and apps, well, but this gets the job done. Now you do have some presets and then climate control. Now this is very simple. You got a single zone climate control. You do have auto here, which is nice. And then you could do your fan speed over here, AC, your modes, defroster, recirculation, all that stuff. Pretty easy to understand. Now moving down here, you do have a USB port, which is nice, and it goes down to a bottom tray, but you do have an upper tray over here. And then underneath, you can see you do have a bottom tray where that cable is connected into, and you get a 12V outlet down there. But this is a separate shelf or tray that you could put things in addition to this one. So this is a really unique design. And also, by this, you can see there's also a little slot here for your phone or whatever else you wanted to squeeze in there. So kind of like a dual stage console. That's pretty nice. Of course, you do have the 6-speed transmission, right? This is what I actually like. I like 6-speed or manuals a lot. And you save some money by getting this. This is what comes with the LX. Now, if you want to upgrade to CVT transmission, it costs about $800 more. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't know how to drive stick, but if you want to learn, if you ever want to learn, you want to do so in a Honda Civic because it is really easy. This is silky smooth and really easy to move up and down, and I'll show you once I start driving. And also the clutch is really, really light. Now you do have brake hold, And this is for electronic parking, and then you do have an economy button in case you guys want to save some gas. This is really well designed. So there's multiple stages of this. First of all, you can see there's a big gap over here. For those of you guys that want to put in something huge, a 64-ounce drink or 2-liter, you could fit it in there. But in case you didn't want to put such a large drink, well, take a look at this, right? Now you have 2 smaller cup holders that you can slide forward and backwards, right? So this is really nice. So you could really fit 3 drinks, I guess. But in case you didn't want this exposed, you could also move this up, as you can see, so it just covers up one and exposes one. So this is really cool. And then you could, of course, slide this back. You could also open this up to reveal more space. And, of course, you can push this back as well. So it's many different things you could do here. And I really love this design. Now up here, unfortunately nothing. You don't get home link buttons, nothing like that. You don't get the SOS or emergency button. There's no sunroof up here. So unfortunately, that's pretty much it. But take a look at just the overall cabin design, starting with the door panel. You do have some nice contrast, and the overall design looks pretty sleek. You have some aluminum trim. Of course, the handles are aluminum. And just take a look how that flows into the dash. Of course, you do see the aluminum trim that's around, right, going around, and also this. Just take a look how it flows into the dash. I mean, if this was upgraded, of course, it'll look better, but still, this gets the job done. But the overall flow and design of the Civic actually looks really good, in my opinion. It actually looks modern, it looks sleek, just like the upper trims. It's just that you get a little bit less. All right, and then if you take a look at the seats, same thing, like the back cloth seats, but they have a nice design and it's well bolstered. So I'll let you guys know how these seats are once I start driving. All right, let's go for a drive and see how this Honda Civic LX handles the roads. Now, I already reviewed the 2020 Civic Hatchback, also SI. They got a refresh this year. You know, there was a mid-cycle refresh that happened, so there's various things that got added. Now, nothing got changed on the sedans or coupes, and that's because the refresh happened back in 2019. The mid-cycle refresh came to the Civic sedan and coupe first, and you know, some of those changes were the safety features, like the Honda sensing. So that was added already, and in terms of the exterior, it was changed a little bit. So just FYI, in case you guys were wondering. Those of you guys that want to learn stick, want to learn, you know, how to drive a manual, you should start with a Honda Civic, because the clutch in here is so forgiving, so light. It is really hard to stall a Civic. I mean, honestly, it is. It's just so forgiving. And also, unfortunately, I can't show you, but you know what? You could shift through the 6-speed with just 2 or 3 fingers. It is really light. So the 6-speed and the clutch in here, definitely a good setup. All right, so now, as you guys can see, I'm in this park reserve, fairly low speeds. I'm cruising in 3rd gear right now. It is super quiet in here. This Civic is really quiet. There is absolutely no wind noise, just slight road noise, but overall the cabin is quiet. Once I get up to speed, about 40 or 50 miles per hour, let me see if things change, because that's usually when wind speed, you know, starts creeping in. But right now, it's definitely very quiet. In terms of these seats, they actually feel very good. I feel like it's just the right thickness in all the right places. The back bolster, I feel like even though they're not adjustable, they're at right size. They're not too narrow. They're not pinching my back. I felt like the bolster on Civic Si, the seats were a little bit narrow. In this one, not so much. I feel like this is actually the right size for a lot of backs out there. And same thing with the bottom cushion. It's wide enough so that it doesn't feel too distracting. But overall, when combined, I actually feel like they both hug me in really well. Although I'm not taking any serious turns or corners right now, but I do feel like I'm being held in, and that's really nice. Not bad. Not bad. This base LX comes with a 2-liter, 158 horsepower engine, which nothing to be bragging about, but when combined with a 6-speed, you know what? It's a little bit faster. It's a little bit faster than a CVT, and plus, it's a hell of a lot more fun. It's just a lot more engaging to shift by yourself, to bang the gears. You don't have to worry about sport mode or anything like that. You get to control everything. Lane departure is working. I purposely swerved, to the side. The steering wheel actually shook a little bit, told me, hey, I'm about to swerve out of my lane, and it came up in the gauge cluster too, so that's nice. The steering wheel actually feels pretty good, even though, like I said, it's not leather, but it has a good thickness, and I like the contour around the 10 and 2. It's like your fingers just slide on really well, and I really enjoy the steering wheel, and plus, the overall steering feel itself is actually pretty good too. It's not very light. In fact, it has a good, heavy feel, a heft to it. But it's not heavy by any means. But you do feel it, and it's very, very precise. The brakes feel absolutely normal. All Hondas have the same kind of brake feel, and it's what you expect. It has a linear feel to it. And it kind of stops and catches the car when you expect it to, so it's good. Alright, now that I'm up to speed, remember I said it was very quiet before? It's still very quiet now. The sound insulation on the Civic is actually really good, really good. I don't hear much wind noise, actually very, very little. Road noise, just a little bit. As for suspension, the suspension is actually well tuned too. Now, this is not nearly as sporty as the SI or Type R or the upper trims, but overall, right now on just general roads going at about 45 miles per hour, it's soaking up the bumps really well. I don't really feel the bumps, and this Civic doesn't feel like it has a lot of body roll. It's not floating around. It's eating up these bumps just fine, and it's a comfortable ride. So the suspension is really good. It's really good. Because of the back window, how it's kind of slanted, almost like a fastback. So I would say the rear visibility is a little bit hindered because of how narrow it is. But overall, you can still see back there. The seat rest, the headrest doesn't really get in the way. But, windshield and side windows, they're all good. They're really good. It's just that the back is a little bit narrow. So is this one of the best brand new sedans you could buy for under $20,000? Well, I have to say this has to be up there. This has to be up there. If you're looking for a really great practical, great at fuel economy, somewhat fun to drive Civic with 4 doors that you can haul the family around or your friends around, it's really hard to beat this Civic LX for $20,000. Next, let's talk about the good and bad to this brand new Civic LX. Starting with the good. The Civic has a great exterior and interior design. It has a large interior space including the trunk. The MSRP is right under $20,000. The Civic also gets Honda Sensing safety feature standard. There is great steering feel and suspension feel. And finally, that 6-speed manual and clutch combo is absolutely great. As for bad, there's only a few. The Civic LX lacks second row amenities because this is a base trim. There is no turbo engine option, which would be great with this 6-speed manual. There is no push start button nor power seats. And lastly, this Civic LX does not have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I'm giving this Civic LX an overall score of 85, and if you want to see how this ranks among its peers, then check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe to the channel and check out some of these other videos.